Good evening, fellow entrepreneurs, small business owners, and side hustlers. My name is Ntokozo, and welcome once again to this fantastic episode of the Business Forecast. That's right, it's the Entrepreneurs Podcast. It's the show that gets you connected to a wide range of business professionals and successful entrepreneurs who are here to give us lessons and tools that will help us take our businesses to the next level. Also, we promote your businesses right here for free, helping you get more exposure, and we also help connect you to a wide array of opportunities for your business. So I'm glad you're here with us. And if you've been joining us in all the other episodes, I just want to say thank you. If you're new and you like the show, please just remember to subscribe and to like this particular video. So over the past 4 weeks, we have gone through 4 different topics that are very practical, and we receive these lessons from successful entrepreneurs, from people who are key in the SME industry. It's been wonderful and it's been awesome. And today all we want to do is really just go back to them, right? We want to go back to them, review all of these episodes, and actually see what it is that we can actually take from it, because we're not here to just give you information or to just give you entertainment. We're here because we want your business to grow. That's why we thought, next, let's just make an episode where we recap on everything we've learned and we look at how we can apply it to our businesses. So before going into that, I'd just like to send a shout out to Vugani M Productions. They're the media house that is helping us with the beautiful setup as you see it today. And they're going to be with us, for the rest of the season and hopefully throughout the whole duration of the show. So yes, please do enjoy the show today. So as I said, we are going to have an episode where we review everything that has been taught. So here's basically the breakdown of what we have over the past 4 episodes, right? Please forgive me if it's too small for you to see. We'll make sure that we fix that later on. So firstly, in the first episode, we had Macmillan Masoga, and he was talking to us about positioning your business for success. Then we had Karabo Mashuhane, who was talking to us about are you ready for funding? And then we had Lishoho Nolo, who came through and told us about how to build a trusted brand. And then lastly, we had Dr. Nichelle Kende, who came through and told us about how to plan for success. So these are the 4 episodes that we've had, and we didn't choose these topics at random, right? If you look at these topics, these are some of the reasons why small businesses fail, or some of the things that small businesses struggle with. So we thought, let's start with these episodes and deal with these topics so that at least we know we've got a good solid foundation, because we're about to grow our businesses to the next level. That's what this show is about, right? Growing our businesses to the next level and actually starting to gain good quality, about our businesses, right? They say a lot about small businesses, about us being unreliable. They don't trust us. But now what we're trying to do, we're trying to build quality. That's why we brought in these experts to come through and talk to us about these 4 topics. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go into them one by one, look at each topic from each guest. We're going to review what each guest said, and just get some nuggets out of it. And maybe if you've never watched, or you feel like it's too long to watch 4 episodes, you'll get a nice, good summary today. So yeah, let's get to it. I think we'll just start with Macmillan's one over there. So Macmillan came and he spoke to us about how to position your business for success. Basically, what that meant was how to start a business such that it will actually succeed, right? How to start a business that will be successful, and that's what he spoke to us about. So these are the points that I took from the episode with Macmillan. Maybe somebody else took other points, and if you're here and you remember something else Macmillan said that I didn't mention, maybe you want to mention it. But for me, these are the points that really stood out. So I'm just going to go through them, and then we're going to look at what Macmillan said and how this can actually apply to our businesses. So the first one there is market research, right? Macmillan really emphasized the importance of market research. If you remember, he first started with all the businesses that he had started in the past that failed, right? And as he went through these failed businesses, he also went through why they failed, right? And one of the things that came up was this lack of market research. For example, he spoke about the fact that he started a salon in a certain place because in another place he saw that it worked well, right? So he came and he started a salon, but it failed, right? And he said the reason it failed is because he didn't do enough market research. Now, what that means is that you have to start engaging with your community and finding out if they actually need your product, right? It's one thing to have a good product or to have a good service, but it doesn't mean that people need it. It doesn't mean that people want it. It doesn't mean that people will afford it, right? It doesn't mean that it's within the bounds of what these people in that particular community are communicating. So the first thing you need to do is to conduct thorough market research. If, for example, let's use an example of I think for the whole show today, we're just going to use an example of a mechanic, right? So this is a car mechanic. He used to work somewhere, he got laid off, and now he wants to start servicing people's cars. So it's easy for him to say, I'm a car mechanic, I was working for Toyota, so now obviously business is going to work out. No, it's not enough, right? He has to go and engage with people with cars, right? Ask them what their problems are. Ask them how much they usually pay for a service. Ask them what it is that they need. What parts of their cars are the ones that usually break out? Break. And all of this is market research, right? And no matter where you are, you can't just go out and release a product. It's one of the reasons we fail. You think it's great, so you go out and you release it without talking to the people around. It's not going to work. Talk to them, engage with them, find out what they need, and then you tailor make your product or your service according to what it is that they need. This is what market research is. Because I know a lot of us, we hear market research and we get so freaked out, like, oh my goodness, where do I even start? This is a good place to start. Talk to the people around you. Tell the community around you about what you're doing. Ask them if they're interested, and start engaging with them. And that is an important first step. So that's the first thing McMillan spoke about. The second thing I have there is that he advises to remain if, for example, if you're working, remain in your job until your business can fund you, right? Or can sustain you rather, right? So you don't want to leave your job while your business is not, still has maybe one customer a week or one customer a month. It's not sustainable. So, I mean, I know this is different to those who actually, left their jobs and now they're trying something. But if you're not in that position and you're in a position where you're still in a job, you stay there. And McMillan told us why. He told us that the first customers that he got were actually his colleagues. So what he would do, he had his big cleaning machine, and he'd tell his colleagues about the fact that, hey, look, I've got these services. Do you want your couch cleaned? Do you want your bedspread cleaned? And whenever he'd get them to say yes, after work he'd go and do those services, until it got to such a point that his services were so popular and they were making so much money that he had to leave his workplace. So the reason why he mentioned that was that, if you're wondering where to get your first customers, one of the best places to look is actually, the people you're working with, right? So let's say this car mechanic guy, let's say we use the example that he lost his job, right? But he still has contacts with his colleagues or his ex-colleagues, right? And maybe people who knew him, or people who came to that particular Toyota garage. Then he has to reach out to them. That's one of the ways you get your first customers. Reach out to the people who know that you're good at that particular point, that particular thing, and then tell them what you're doing. Tell them that you're now unemployed. Tell them that you now need them to, to support you. And that's a good place to start. So that's one of the other things that I got from McMillan. And then the next one is just as important, and he spoke about the importance of building relationships, right? And I like what he said here, because he said in business, it's all about relationships. Relationships are super important, right? Because at the end of the day, people are not buying your products, they are buying you. These were his exact words, and I love that. People are not buying your products, they're buying you. And what that means is they could probably get your product from somewhere else, and you have to give them a reason why they must get it from you. And one of the best ways you can do that is by actually starting to form relationships with people. Build intentional business relationships, right? So don't just build relationships that won't build your business or empower you or build you up or enrich you. Build relationships that can actually matter for you to your business. So you with your for example, your colleagues at work, make sure you've got good relationships with them. Another thing McMillan said, he says, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be a loving person. He said that, people only buy, or rather people only want to buy or only want to support people who they like and who they are not threatened by, right? He said, People want to buy or they want to support people who they like and who they're not threatened by. And the best way you can make sure that you're liked and you're not threatening is by building these relationships with these people. Look, if you want to be successful in business, unfortunately, you have to be a people person, because money comes from people, right? You want these people to take their hard-earned money and give it to you instead of giving it to so many other people who are in your industry. So if they like you, they built a relationship with you, they want to see you succeed, right? Because you're such a great person, you're a person of value to them. And this is why Macmillan got to a point where he, we heard him. If you watched it, if you didn't watch it, he spoke about the fact that he built these relationships so much until he was able to reach DJ Zintle. He spoke to DJ Zintle, told DJ Zintle about his services, and DJ Zintle used his services, and she loved them, and she tweeted about it. And since that day, he had a massive inflow of customers. From there, Somizi used his services, and he's never come back since. And that's all because he built relationships. You can't just sit down and say, man, I hope one day I get a break. Maybe a celebrity will use my product. Don't be passive. Build those relationships. You are probably 2 or 3 people away from your DJ Zintle. You're a person who's going to open doors for you, but you're not going to get there unless you actually start building these relationships, being intentional about building relationships that will actually help your business to grow. So I really love that point, because it's one thing that small businesses don't get. We think just because we see a big company advertising is going to work with us. It's not going to work with you. You're still small, right? You have to build relationships. Imagine if you took a year to build a relationship with 50 people who are your potential customers, right? Or maybe 20 people, your potential customers. Even if they don't use your services, they now refer you to someone else. They're like, I like this guy or I like this lady, and I want to tell other people to use them. This is the power of relationships, right? This is the power of networking. And it's another point that came out from Macmillan's talk that I really found quite great. Then Macmillan also spoke about building networks. So pretty much building networks and building, relationships is pretty much the same thing, right? Networking is not just going to networking events, getting people's business cards and taking people's business cards, and you're thinking, yeah, I'm networking. No, networking is all about building relationships. It's the same as with Macmillan. The reason why he was able to get to DJ Zintle is because he built networks. Look, I promise you, if you take your phone book or you take your Facebook friends right now and open up, take a list, write a list of all the people in that particular phone book of yours or contact list of yours, though, who are potential customers or who could link you up to people. If you know a celebrity or you know someone who knows a celebrity, start engaging with that person. Start building a relationship with that person until such a point that they like you enough to introduce you to their celebrity friend, right? And imagine now you've got this celebrity connection. If they like you, they now start opening doors for you. This is what networking is. And I promise you, it's a shortcut. Macmillan showed us that it's a shortcut. If DJ Zintle didn't buy his services, he wouldn't be where he is right now. Yes, he'd be doing fairly well, but he wouldn't be at the premium epic level he is right now. So don't take networking lightly. Build your networks. I think Macmillan mentioned this 4 times, that keep on building networks. Keep on building networks. That's how small businesses get a shortcut. So the next one, he spoke about the importance of engaging with people well. And I believe he was talking specifically about social media. And I like what he alluded to, right? Because again, what we usually do, I'm Togozo, I've got my Togozo profile on Facebook and on Instagram, right? And then I've got my business profile, Filigree, for example, and I'm pushing business. Let's say I've got 1,000 friends or 1,000 followers on my personal social media account, but I don't have that many followers on my business one, and I'm pushing my business stuff on my page. I'm not saying it's wrong, but you need to realize how personal business is when you're still small, right? Rather use your main your main account in your social media, because people already follow you, people already like you, people from high school, people from back then, people who are family members. These are all people who like you, probably, who want you to succeed. So if you use your main social media platform or page, it's easier for you to get these people to start liking you. So you start slotting in your business within those social media spheres, and that's where you can actually start gaining traction. Because Macmillan mentioned about how he used to post quirky and funny tweets, and things along those lines. And then it was these tweets that actually started helping a lot of people know about Basani. Imagine that, right? So don't take it lightly that you've got people who like you within your main network, on social media, and use that. Engage with people, be valuable to people, be loving to people, and then people will start buying from you more. So just the last one here. Yeah, no, I think I pretty much covered all of them. I'm just gonna go and check out some of the comments, and I'm thankful for all those who are there. I see Marema, I see Tumi, I see Happiness, and thank you for all your comments. And if you have any questions or any additions, please don't be shy and just tell me about them. So now we're gonna go to the next segment. So the next segment, we spoke about funding, and I know a lot of us, we love funding, right? And that's why we got Karabo Mashukhane, who's one of the foremost experts on SME development in the country, and he specializes in helping small businesses get funding. So we brought him in and we said, look, funding seems like it's such a mystery for small businesses in South Africa. Do you need to be special? What do you need to be like in order for you to get funding? And that's basically what we spoke about with Karabo Mashukhane. And no, sorry about that. Let's get Karabo's one up there. So Karabo came through and he spoke to us about the topic, are you ready for funding? And I have to admit, this was, for me, it was really mind-blowing and mind-opening, because I've been trying to get funding for such a long time. And if I'd known this, I believe I would have gotten funding much easier. So here, the first thing Karabo spoke about is, MVP. So that is short for minimum viable products, right? So the way he started it is, it's so risky for you to start a new business and already invest a lot of money, because any business venture, no matter how great the idea is, it's a risky endeavor, right? So he spoke about the fact that instead of wanting 100,000 or 100, or rather 200,000 or a million to start, funding your business idea, he said rather get your minimum viable product, right? Look into your industry or your value chain and find a gap where you can start servicing that gap with minimum investment, right? And I really love that. So we want to go headlong, headstrong, and speak about the fact that, yeah, I need this funding to start this big project. But how about you start small, right? Start with a smaller project within that industry that doesn't need a lot of funding. And when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're gaining traction, right? You're starting to understand that industry. You're starting to build experience in that industry, and you're starting to build traction such that now when you do go to an investor, they are going to ask you, what have you done so far? Now you're able to point back, actually, I found a smaller gap and I met it by this, and that. I put in my own money. I promise you that will make the world of difference. And that's what Garab was saying to us. Start there, right? Because we know it's not easy to get funding. So you don't want to just sit around and say it's not fair. You want to start somewhere. Find a gap within your value chain and then meet it with minimum funding required. So the next one here is, start in a less capital intensive area, which is pretty much the same as the point we just made, that a business, he spoke about the fact that a business is a risky endeavor, and when you're a small business owner and you're coming through, you don't know much probably about, let's say you created the product, so you know about your product, but you don't know much about accounting, you don't know much about marketing, you don't know much about technical things, and you need those things to run a business. A business is not just a product, it's got a variety of different elements within it, right? So spoke about the fact that since you don't know these things that well, what you want to do is try and gain experience in it. I remember he made mention to the fact that sometimes it's good to even get a job in the industry you want to get into. Maybe you're not getting that job because you want, a job, but you're getting that job maybe for 6 months so that you can actually start looking around, seeing how things work, making some contacts within that arena, so that when you get out and you're starting your own thing, you're not starting from scratch, right? You're starting from a position of strength, from a position of advantage. And then again, when you start approaching investors, having had that experience, it makes it that much easier for you to get funding. So next, he spoke about strong teams, the importance of building strong teams. Now, what this really means is the fact that, again, when you're starting, you might be good at one area of business, like the product or the service, right? And you might find that, oh man, for example, let's say we go back to the mechanic. So he knows how to fix cars, but he doesn't know how to do marketing. He doesn't know how to make a website. He doesn't know how to get finance. He doesn't know how to build a business plan. And all of these things are important for his business to succeed. So what Karabo was saying is that to mitigate or minimize this risk, one of the things that small businesses can do is actually find partners who are good at the things that you're not good at, right? I know sometimes you're like, no, it's my idea, it's my company, I don't want to lose any equity. But look, you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere, somehow, especially when you're starting out. Because when you come through with a strong team, right? So now you're a mechanic, you partner with an accountant, you partner with a marketer, you partner with an IT technician, you partner with someone who does business planning and business processes. You come together, you guys make this business profile. It makes the company a more sure bet, right? And not just for funders, but for customers, right? A lot of customers will look for a business profile and they want to see who the team is. So when you come through with a team like this, Karabo mentioned the fact that one thing is that it reduces your risk, firstly, and then secondly is that it actually increases your competence. Now your company looks like it can actually succeed, and when it looks that way, then it becomes easier for you to approach investors and easier for investors to invest in your business, right? Because the risk is minimized, because now there's 5 of you who are all doing this thing instead of there being one person. So I really like that point as well, and I know a lot of us wouldn't like it as small businesses, but it's very important. Then he spoke about the different kinds of funders. Now, there are many kinds of funders, but I like the ones that he got into. So first he spoke about lending, right? A lot of us look for lending, or rather we look for loans, and we look to, get loans from a bank or loans from someone. But he says, before you start looking for funding from someone, you have to understand the motivation behind every funder, meaning look at it from his perspective. What is this funder looking for? What is this investor looking for, right? People are not waiting around with millions of rands in their pockets waiting for you, right? If they have money, they want to use this money for a reason. So you need to get into their head, understand what is it that they want, right? And when you look at people who give out loans, people who give out loans are usually risk averse. They don't want risk because their primary goal is, can you pay back my money with interest? So if you come through and tell them, no, in 5 years, we're going to be the biggest company in South Africa, they don't care about that. They just want to know, hey, biggest company, we just want to know, can you pay us back, right? And usually what makes them know what if you can pay them back is, history. Have you paid back loans before? And a lot of us are starting, so we haven't done that. So loans are usually not a good option for small business owners. Then you have venture capitalists or angel investors. These are people who are not giving you loans, but they are buying a share of your company. So this can be friends and family. This can be angel investors. These are people who who are wealthy. And then it can be venture capitalists. These are actual companies that are looking constantly for, disruptive ideas, businesses that have the potential to become big. And he said the motivation behind these guys now is the fact that they are always looking for the next big thing, right? So if you think you've got the next big thing, they're the ones to go to, right? But still, you have to prove your competence. And I like what Garabo kept referring to, is that when you go to an investor, there's 2 things you need to have, right? Firstly, you need to show that you've identified a market that is actually real, right? There's people who want my product, who need my product, and who've got the money to afford my product, right? You have to prove that to them. And secondly, you have to prove to them your ability to execute or to get those customers. So once you've got all of that, that's where you start approaching these venture capitalists. So remember, they're looking for the next big thing. So you have to be able to convince them that they're investing in something that is exciting. So firstly, he got into those 2 types of funding, and then we're going to go into a bit of more that he mentioned just now. So the next one, actually, he spoke about funding from corporate clients. Now, personally, this was mind-blowing and a great revelation for me because I'd never thought of it before. So funding from corporate clients or from corporate supply, what that basically means is there's these big corporations, right? And as part of BE, they have to spend some of their money on small businesses. It's called preferential procurement, right? And they also have to fund small businesses. That's part of ESD, enterprise supply development. So they are constantly looking for small businesses to fund, but they're not just going to fund anyone, right? So if, for example, you are buying from them. So let's go back to a mechanic. So a mechanic is fixing cars, and let's say he orders parts from Toyota. Let's say there was a Toyota in South Africa where he orders parts. So what you do as that mechanic, you make your business plan, you go to Toyota and you say, look, Toyota, I can be your client for the next 5 years, right? I can actually come through and I can order 20,000 Rand worth of goods, of parts every month, right? Because I've got so many people who want to use my mechanic services, and they always need parts, and I can make sure that I buy from you. But in order for me to get to that level, I need you to invest in me. You get it now, right? So now Toyota, when they invest in you, they're not just investing in you saying, okay, we just keep doing you a favor. No, they're investing in you for their own sakes, because they know that once you're stable and once you're established, you're going to be a consistent customer for them. So you're giving them a win-win situation. The first win is that they get their BEE score sorted. And the second win is the fact that, they just earned a new solid customer. And that's what he was talking about. And this blew my mind, because I never thought of it that way. Remember, these corporations already have money. So when you come to them, you have to come to them with something unique, something new, and something special. And that also overlaps to the last point that Garawa mentioned, which was ESD, which speaking about the fact that there are these initiatives. So basically, enterprise supply development is an initiative that started with broad-based Black economic empowerment, where all corporations that are making 50 million in revenue and above are required to use 3% of their profit after tax to fund small businesses and to buy from small businesses. So that's what ESG is, right? So imagine there's all these corporates every year, they're sitting with this money. They're like, where am I going to get the business to give this money to? Where am I going to get people to fund? So you as a small business owner, you have to be like, okay, I didn't know. So personally, I'm one of the people who didn't know that much about it until a few years ago, right? But you need to go to them and knock on their doors. And remember, when you knock on their doors, don't just come begging. Come with an idea to say, if you fund me, I'm then also going to add value to you, because mostly they fund people in their value chain. So that is it with that point. And then now we're going to go to the next point. So this was Lihlolo Nolo, and he came through to speak to us about how to build a trusted brand, very, very important. Now, Lihlolo Nolo is the founder of Moja Chicken, right? Moja Chicken was established in 2019 as a container-based chicken restaurant. And by 2021, they already have 5 franchise outlets, and they were making over 5 million Rand in revenue a year. Now, when you look at such quick growth and the idea of, if they can be able to build so many franchises, then you know that this person was able to build their brand. Because when you open a franchise, when you buy a franchise, it's like you're leveraging off the existing brand of someone else so that you can sell your products quicker. So it means that Lihlolo Nolo knew a lot about branding. So that's why we brought him in, and he came through and he shared some awesome points. I'm just going to go through them a bit quicker right now, because I didn't want us to spend that much time today. But I'm just going to communicate them through, and ways in which you can apply them to your business. So the first one there, again, he spoke about the importance of marketing and industry research. Same thing Macmillan spoke about. He also emphasized that it's not enough for you to go to a city and say, oh, there's about 20 million people in the city. It means, and they all eat chicken. So yeah, or rather, let's use the mechanic. Let's not move from the mechanic. You can't just get to a city and say, okay, there's 20,000 people in this city who have cars, and if I can just get 1% of them, then I know I'm dealing with 2,000 cars a month. It doesn't work that way, right? You have to actually go out and do your research. And I spoke about this earlier. I don't want to reiterate it, but you have to go out and engage with the people in that particular community. Talk to them. Ask them what their price points are. Ask them what their problems are, what their needs are. Tell them that you want to start something along these lines. Would it be something they're interested in? So those are the sorts of things you do when you're doing market research, right? And you write these things down, right? You have to have an analysis at the end of the day to how many people are there? What is the potential demand? What does the market like? What is the average salary of the people in your market? Can they afford your services? All of these are things you have to look into before, if you want to actually start a successful business. So all of that is part of market research. And then I think even size of demand, the third point there, would fall under that. Then he spoke about brand awareness, and I like it how he actually broke it down into three, right? So it's brand penetration, it's brand positioning, and brand awareness. Those are the three things you need to understand when you talk about branding. So maybe let's take a step back to talk about what is a brand. So your business is, like I said, you might have a nice product, but your brand is the face of your business, right? It's what people see and what people associate with your business. When they see your logo, when they hear your name, what are they associating with you? So that's what a brand is. And it's your responsibility as a small business owner to start creating brand awareness around your products, right? Again, it's not enough to say, I'm a mechanic, so cars are just going to come. No, communicate, right? I'm the cheapest mechanic in town. I'm the only one who fixes Toyotas to this level. Our service is always 24-hour guaranteed. All of these things are messages that you need to start communicating to your target market as part of your brand image, right? So they know when they hear Speedy Mechanics, they know, oh, Speedy Mechanics is the cheap guy who does Toyotas, who has a 24-hour turnaround time. He's got a logo with a nice wheel, which has fire coming out of it. All of this is branding, right? And therefore, you need to start realizing, okay, my people in my target market need to know about me. So I need to let my brand be known. And this is basically what we're talking about today. So brand penetration is basically saying, starting to let people know about your brand. Brand positioning is simply, being where your product is needed. It doesn't make sense for you to advertise to people who are walking where you are actually a mechanic, right? Make sure that your brand is seen by the people who are your target market. And brand awareness, it just means making sure that your brand is seen by more and more people. So those are the points there. And then he spoke about the importance of, understanding what works in your particular area, or securing your own market. And I love this. He reiterated what Macmillan said. One of the things that kills a lot of small businesses is because they think, I saw it working in Sandton and therefore it'll work in Davidson. Right? That doesn't work that way, right? We wish it worked that way. And I like what Leshawanola said. He said, look, even if it worked that way, you still need to create, these people are different. People don't think the same, when you look at the different areas. So you need to relate with the people in your area based on the way they are. Right. So it's important for you to, again, do that market research. It goes back to doing the market research. It goes back to what Macmillan said, forming those relationships, talking to people around there. The more you talk, the more you know about them, what they need, the more they know about your business and what you're trying to do. And that's when you're actually now starting to establish your brand, and it's such an important thing that sometimes we as small business owners miss, but we have to make sure that we find out what works in our particular area. And I think there was something else that I like that he said concerning this. He spoke about I'm forgetting the term now, but basically the income bracket of the people in your area, right? It worked in Sandton. People in Sandton have a different income bracket. People in Sandton are interested about different things. They might, be interested in a variation of your business. You might want to come of that business. You might want to come through and do a different kind of mechanics business. So just because there's a mechanics business in Sandton, you want to come here and you're not going to be fixing the same cars probably. You're not going to be fixing the same issues. You're not going to be dealing with the same prices. So understand what works in your particular area and, customize your business according to that. So just the last few points here, he spoke about, very important, is what makes you different. For Lithoronolo, it was his special sauce, and therefore his chicken tastes so good that wherever you go, you'll know. Where, like, if you eat from one franchise and eat from another franchise, you'll recognize the signature taste, of that particular chicken. So again, what makes your product different? What makes your service different? You have to figure that out, right? What is your value proposition? What are you offering that is unique? What makes you special? It could be something as simple as your service, right? You could be selling the same thing as somebody else is selling. Somebody's selling chairs, you're selling chairs, but the difference is you've got fantastic service. You always have a smile on your face. You call them 3 times a day to ask them how their chair, is treating them. But what is different about you? And once you've figured out what's different about you, embed that in your messaging that you now start spreading out through your branding. right? So if you're using social media to advertise your brand, make sure that that message, that value proposition is always your message. Going back to the mechanic, every post that person posts, he has to say, we're cheapest, we only do Toyota, we have 24 hours turnaround time. That is your value proposition. That's what makes you different. And that's what you should always be communicating until it actually sinks in the minds of people. There's a reason why companies spend millions and millions of dollars or rands, on advertising. We see the same adverts over and over again until we associate that product with a certain feeling and with a certain quality. And that's what you want to do. That's what your brand does. It evokes certain feelings inside your customers. And that's, I think, such an important thing that we shouldn't forget. And yeah, I think that is it from Matlaonolo. He also did, oh, sorry, Litlaonolo. He also did speak about the 5 Ps of marketing, but I feel like we did cover them. Maybe the only one we didn't cover is, the first P, which is pricing, where he was talking about the fact that your price can be a marketing tool, right? If you price your product so well that it actually, people know that you're the cheapest, you can actually use that as a marketing tool. And that's an interesting, marketing strategy. But, the rest of the 5 Ps we dealt with. So now we're just going to go to the last one, which is Dr. Kende, who was here last week talking to us about positioning, or rather planning for success beyond just a hustle. Planning for success beyond just a hustle. I really, really love this, because if we're going to move from being small business owners to start creating jobs and reach our goals, we have to move from the hustler mentality. Yes, you're a hustler when you're starting out, but you have to move from being a hustler, because being a hustler has a connotation of the fact that you go out, you work, you get your money, you come back, you do something. But when you have a business mentality, that's where you have a structured business. Now you've got a business plan, you've got business procedures, you've got your marketing that goes out 5 days a week, you've got your financials, you've got your accountant. These are all things that you need for your business to grow. So you need to start establishing them. So we brought in Dr. Kende, who has his own business school called MSK Business School. And what he does is that he trains small business owners and entrepreneurs in order for them to be people of quality to lead businesses. So that's why we brought him through. He's a sought after expert. He speaks around the world. And, he came through and he spoke to us some phenomenal things. I just made a few points, I drew out a few points out of that, but I really would recommend for you to go back and listen to him, because, this is a wealth of knowledge. He has 23 years experience in the field. But yeah, so these are the main points that I got from Dr. Kende. And the first one there, he spoke about the reasons for failure, the main reasons businesses fail. And the first one was the lack of access to customers, right? And I like the way he said it, that small business owners have a tendency of not understanding what their customers want, where they want it, and what price they want it. And as a result, they end up, making these long business plans, claiming to be able to do what big corporations do, and they're not able to do that. So what small business owners need to do, they need to focus on their niche, right? What you're good at, that market that you can grab, that these big companies cannot get to, right? So if for example, the mechanic, if the servicing companies are charging too much money, you're charging at a nice price point at a certain place at a certain time. That is called carving out a niche. You're servicing a particular market that is, relating specifically to you. So that is, one thing you can do to counter that particular thing. And then the second thing, he spoke about a lack of access to funding. We spoke about the fact that, lending institutions like banks are not going to give money to small business owners. And without money and without customers, you're probably going to end up failing. And this is the cycle that a lot of small businesses get into. But he did speak to us about some ways to avoid that. And then the last reason he gave us is the lack of training. And I really love this because it blew my mind. He spoke about the fact that, I love it. He said a business owner, like for example, a mechanic will go from being a mechanic, rather working at Toyota as a mechanic, and he was going to come through and start his own business. And, they think it's going to succeed, right? I was doing it there and I'm doing it here. And that's a real problem. He said that's, a misconception. It's not going to work out, because being a business owner, it's not a transference of skills, right? It's not a transference of acumen. You don't use the same skills or the same acumen when you're running a business as you do when you're an employee, right? I love it. He said you need an upgrade of skills, You need to upgrade your skills and your mindset to that of a business owner. And when you start running your own mechanic, your own, place where you fix cars, you now running it as with the mindset of business owner. But this doesn't just come naturally. You need some sort of training, right? So we spoke about the lack of training is another reason why small businesses fail, and that's why companies like his or his business school exists to give small businesses these training facilities, so that they can be able to to build their quality. And the next one, where we went into then, what are some of the ways to avoid failure? The first one there was, he spoke about joining an incubator. Like, there are incubators out there, and they are made to help small businesses grow in quality in a group setting. So you join an incubator, it's like they're holding your hand and showing you how to build, how to make a business plan, how to make a business concept, or how to make a profile, how to talk to customers, how to invoice, and all of those things. So an incubator teaches you that thing. And he said, we should try and join those incubators. Secondly, he spoke about the fact that it's important to join networks. Again, networking comes up. Networks, he mentioned specifically like the network that we made, which is Filigree Net, which is an online network with small business owners who have the same mindset. They connect, they talk, they exchange information, as well as buy and sell from one another. And the powerful thing about that is that you gain knowledge from the people who have the same mind as you, but also you're in the smaller marketplace where you buy and sell from each other as entrepreneurs. So you don't have to compete with the large corporations. You're just competing among small businesses such as yourself. And that's the power of a network. So those are online networks that you can use. But he also spoke about the importance of physical networks that you can join. And that is obviously only when COVID restrictions have been lifted and stuff like that. Then I remember he spoke about the using social media, and I like the way he said it. He said use social media like WhatsApp and all of those things in order to start connecting and speaking to the people who can add value to your business. So don't just stick with people who it's just for fun. You're a business owner right now. You need to think like a business owner. So connect with the people. Use LinkedIn, use Facebook, use Instagram, and all of those things to connect with the people who could be your potential customers, as well as who could connect you to potential customers, or who could add value to you. Could be advice, it could be mentors, or any such thing, right? Spoke about the importance of using social media to gain access to that. And also you can use WhatsApp to reach out to people and tell them, look, I used to work for Toyota, now I got laid off, so I'm pushing my own thing, I'm selling at a lesser price, but the quality is still the same. Please come buy from me. So he spoke about how being honest on social media like that can actually open doors for you. So yeah, those are some of the points that he said we can use to avoid these failures. And I remember he was asked a question about how is it then, if training is so important, how does a business owner move from balanced training as well as doing their business, right? If I'm working all day long on my business, when do I train? And simply put, he just said, look, you're an entrepreneur, you want to do something special, it's going to require sacrifice, So he was saying, you work your 8 hours during the day, and then at night you make sure that you invest 1 or 2 hours in upskilling yourself, right? Use YouTube, use online courses that are available to upskill yourself. Find out how to make a business plan, find out how to make a marketing plan, find out how to do your own marketing, how to do social media marketing. These are things that you're supposed to be able to learn as a small business owner, especially if you haven't made those partners that we spoke about earlier. So yeah, that was another point, a great point that he brought across there. And then he spoke about the training facilities that are available out there. No, before we get to training facilities, he spoke briefly about creating value and the importance of creating value, that we need to move away from the mentality of I need to be supported. And he said, basically, we can't go out with a begging bowl saying people need to support me, people need to support me. The idea is for you to integrate your services into their lives such that they offer value to them, right? It needs to make sense that they are buying from you, right? And one of the ways you can do that, he went back to that example, if you are a mechanic and you say that you're selling, you're fixing cars you're servicing cars at a less rate, at the same quality as they would have gotten at Toyota, because you used to work at Toyota and you know the quality, and you give them great service on top of that. These are ways in which you're creating value. You communicate, then after that you communicate that value through your branding, and that's where you're actually going to start having a consistent flow of customers, and stop saying, Tina, they don't support us because we're black people. No, create value and people will buy from you. And lastly, he just spoke about training institutions. Some training institutions like his, the NSK Business School, are specifically for small business owners. They are not free, but sometimes there are TVET colleges that are government funded that you can use. Then you can also use YouTube to upskill yourself. There's a lot of skills that are available on YouTube. And also there are some courses, online courses, he said, you can do them for free, but you only pay, like these are like provided by universities, you only pay to write an exam. And if you want to know a bit more about those ones, Dr. Kende will come through, or rather I'll send you Dr. Kende's details, and you can ask him about that. He said he wouldn't mind directing us towards those ones. So yeah, guys, thank you for staying with me. I really, really appreciate it. Today, really, it's an important episode. I feel like it's one of those you're going to go back to and just watch that one. We're going to do this every 4 or 5 episodes where we go back and we recap so that you can remember what was said and how to apply it to your business. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a workbook with all of these points, and I'm going to give it to you for free, so you'll be able to download it for free. I'll send a download link. It's going to be a flip book. You just flip through, you see everything that Macmillan said, Garabo said, etc., etc., and I'll put all of the great things they referred us to. So if you do want that book, just hit me up in the comment section, and I'll make sure I send it through to you. So we're going to keep doing this to make sure that we apply these things, and this is not just an entertainment thing. It actually does change our companies. So yeah, this is all that we have for today. Today was supposed to be a bit more chilled, a bit more relaxed. Next week, we have a great guest lined up by the name of Philip Chikoji. He is one of, is a specialist in the HR and labor divisions of, the top companies in the country. So he's going to be coming through and speaking to us about, how to get your first employees, how to structure things along those lines. It's going to be a great discussion with him as well. So do watch this space, and thank you so much for joining in. Just going to look through some of the comments that I hear. Just want to thank you once again for everything you guys have been saying and commenting here. I can see Happiness saying, I like this review episode. Thank you, Happiness. And, Colleen saying, another awesome session. I really do appreciate it. And I really hope that, these sessions are going to help you out and are going to help people out. But next week, we're back with the big guns. Today was a bit of a relaxing. Next week, we're back with the big guns, people who have great experience, and they're going to help us out. So thank you so much for joining. Hope I'll see you again next week. For those who are joining us for the first time, please like and subscribe. That's all I have for today. I'm Doza Sajwayo. This was the Business Forecast. Till next time, keep busy, and I wish you all the best for your business.